My friends, ladies and gentlemen, what a joy to be with you for this episode of Pastors of Payne. I'm Father Brian O'Brien, pastor of St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church here in Payne County, Stillwater, Oklahoma. We're at 711 North Country Club Road. You can find us on the internet, on the web, at sfxstillwater.org. And I am joined, as always, not always, but most of the time, because
99.9%.
we throw in, I think we've had 115, 120 episodes.
Whoa.
And I think we've had guests like four times. I think there's been maybe 5 times that where one of us hasn't been here. So
Wow.
we're basically, you're basically stuck with us. But I'm here with Father Kerry of St. John Catholic Student Center.
Yeah, there was
Bacon!
Wait, why are we applauding me and not you? Round of applause for Father
Because
Brian.
you're I don't know.
Welcome.
I'm trying to be humble.
Well, you're doing a great job of it. Father Kerry, pastor of St. John Catholic
Yep.
Student Center on the corner of Miller and
What's your
Knobloch.
address? What's your physical address?
201 North Knobloch,
Okay.
Stillwater, Oklahoma,
Nice.
74075.
Love it. What's your
Right-
website?
CatholicPokes.com,
Nice.
Instagram, Catholic Pokes, Twitter,
Yeah, you
Catholic
kind of own
Pokes,
the Catholic Pokes situation.
Facebook, Catholic Pokes.
If you're listening to this and you know a student who goes to Oklahoma State University, you have to send them this podcast. Not necessarily this one, although I think this is going to be a good podcast.
Ooh, this is going to be a winner.
But send them the general link, and you can go back and listen to our 100 plus episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Why
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, there's people who they're up. I like people. What's funny is people who are like catching up, and so they're like, oh, I just listened to that one on on Advent, and it's like, why are we talking about Advent in July? Oh, because I'm catching up. So we try to kind of stay current. We stay current, but people are. You can listen to any episode anytime. I went back. This was over the summer.
Yeah.
I was driving. Where was I driving? I was driving to Colorado, and I listened to our first episode. It was so funny.
When our moms were the only people that listened.
Yeah, we had 2 people, and now we're up to. There's usually
somebody in Slovenia is listening to us now.
something between 500 and 700 people a week that listen via the podcast, and then who knows who's listening on the radio
Or in space.
Some other people. Father Kerry, I think there's a topic that has been coming up a lot lately. I've been hearing it in and amongst the parish. I'm sure that you hear about it.
It's on TV.
And then we hear it a lot on TV.
It's in
and I
news-
think
it's in
especially in an
magazines.
election year, the topic is gossip.
What?
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh my gosh! But wait,
So this episode
Oof.
is about gossip, the 8th commandment.
yeah. Okay. Can I start off?
Go. You hit it.
Okay.
Hit it. There's a lot. We got a lot
There's
to cover.
there's a lot to go.
We got a lot
Like,
to do.
So it's easily dismissed by people as you walk through your examination and you're like, okay, I gossip and I can't think of anything else. They may be like, I gossiped, and they may throw it in there in kind of the middle of the grocery store items. They're going along the conveyor belt and there's some fruit and some meat and some dairy.
I think most
and
people
then,
gossip but don't even think they're gossiping.
and they drop gossip in there in their kind of litany of sins, but they think it's just something that is nonchalant, is not a big pain. You know how I love words? You know how I just
Words
love
are hard.
love words. I like words because they tell us something about them about the word that we may not get at face value, because gossip may mean I think I'm talking about somebody. But there's 3 times that the word gossip shows up in the scriptures.
Tell me.
You ready? 1 is the accuser of our brothers is cast out.
Who night and day
Accuse them before God. So gossip is not just the job of any person. It is the characteristic of the devil. The accuser of our brothers is cast out, who night and day accuse them before God. So when we gossip, we take the job of the devil.
It's
Okay.
evil. Gossip is evil.
It is evil. And then
Not to be taken lightly.
So I want to stay on that trend. Because in Greek, when St. Paul writes, or when the word is written in Greek, it's Pisarumius, which has the word at its basis of hiss, like a snake.
Oh, okay. Now we're talking.
Do you hear the word?
Yeah.
Pisarumius. Okay, so we literally have a word that means to hiss about another, to whisper evil about them. Whoa. I mean, do we think just gossip is just like, I'm just saying some things. Hey, just excuse me for a second. I just want to talk about this person, and then I do this. The other one,
Tell me.
Katalalos. Katalalos is a word to mean evil speech. Evil speech. So when we gossip, we hiss about another one like a snake, like the devil does. We whisper things about them, but then we don't say like really great things about them. We're talking evil about them. So we have these things that are going on. And so gossip is not just like a friendly neighborhood, like casual conversation of like, hey, how's your day? Or when two friends get together and they socialize and they banter and they may say, golly, I had a rough day at work. The gossip at its heart is destroying other people, because that's what the enemy does.
Yes.
He grabs them and he destroys them. He wants them thrown out with him. So don't gossiping. It's nasty.
I think a lot of people, you hear this a lot, and I'll say that I've done this myself, and that if it's true, it's not gossip. I think it's interesting. So my friend Joe has, I know that he has an alcohol problem.
You don't have a friend Joe who's got an alcohol problem?
No, this is hypothetically.
Okay, good. Yeah, just checking.
Joe has an alcohol problem, and I know that. And I tell you, hey, did you know Joe like has a really bad drinking problem? That's gossip. Because even though it's true, and I think this is where some people in their minds think, no, it's not gossip, it's true. Right? Okay, it is true that Joe has a drinking problem.
Does it need to be anybody else?
But do you need to know that?
Yes.
Does the person I'm telling this to, or the group of people, like, Joe has a drinking problem? Like, they do not have the right to that information.
Correct.
They do not need to know. For what purpose am I sharing that? I'm sharing it because I want to tear Joe down. Because I want to seem like I'm more virtuous than Joe, or because I want you to know that I know, right? That's gossip. So even though it's true, it's still a sin. You've just committed a sin.
But a sin is the ruining of my relationship with the Lord. So remember, sin, it breaks my relationship with the Lord, because now what am I doing? I'm turning into the enemy who tries to bring the downfall of man and woman.
Right.
So, okay, we there's that. So I've already broken my relationship with God, and now I've broken my relationship with my brothers and sisters. I love it because you don't, gossip is not just, I don't love gossip, but gossip is not an isolated event. It changes the way, like if I gossip about somebody else to Father O'Brien, it changes his way he thinks about me.
Yes.
It also changes his way he thinks about the other person.
Yep.
And then a third way he thinks, wow, I wonder what Coolidge says when I'm not around.
Yeah, it creates a distrust within the relationship.
Begins to fracture the relationship, and that's what the enemy does.
Separate it's diabolical. Okay, so that sin is called detraction. So there's a lot of this in the catechism. So if you go to the Catechism of the Catholic Church, the third part of the catechism covers the commandments. The sin of gossip falls under the 8th commandment.
Let me guess.
Thou shalt not bear false witness against the neighbor. So when you gossip now, but that's where people are like, but Joe does have a drinking problem. It's true. I'm not bearing false witness. And we would say you are. Yes, it is true that Joe has a drinking problem, but they don't need to know that. So we call that the sin of detraction, passing on harmful truths about others. So the information is true, but it's not information to be shared. We call that detraction. Now, there's other sins of gossip. Can I go through? Can I go through a little list?
Please, go ahead.
How about calumny? Calumny.
Oh,
calumny.
don't do that. What does that mean, by the way?
Telling lies behind a person's back.
Ooh.
We might also call it slander.
Okay.
So when someone is like, no, that is slanderous. Woo, you're telling lies behind a person's back.
Okay.
Also, Thomas Aquinas calls it backbiting. Right? You're talking behind someone's back. You're secretly and quietly trying to injure this person when they are not present to defend themselves or to clarify.
Correct.
What is happening. So as we're talking about this, please, those of you listening, right, be thinking about in your own life, number one, what that feels like when that's done about you. And I think we've all experienced that. But then more often than not, it's we do this to other people. So Thomas Aquinas talks about backbiting. He talks about calumny. He talks about reviling, which is dishonoring a person to their face, kind of done sort of audibly, openly, but rooted in anger, coming at somebody with some information that's meant to like embarrass them. And it's oftentimes done in front of other people, right? So have you all experienced that?
Oh, yes.
Yes, yeah. All right, so then of course detraction, which is passing on harmful truths about others. We also have, and this is where I think I hear this a lot in the parish, and I think you probably see this a lot in the college world, and that is what we would just call sort of whispering or tale bearing, and that is you're kind of trying to stir up trouble or arouse people to take action against a person.
Yeah, that's exactly what St. Paul, when he talks about this in the letter to the Romans, where he talks about like, what is this katalalos? Logos, word.
Yes.
Kata, against the word. So that is St. Paul's letter to the Romans. He's talking directly about that. It's not something that's like, oh my gosh, this is just common today in our world. No, we've been dealing with this since the fall of man and woman.
So you hear this a lot. I think in groups where someone sort of tries to align others against a particular person. All right, I don't like this person. We're not getting along. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of get the group to alienate. So we used to see this a lot in the high school world.
Correct.
But I think you see it even in the office world and schools, and that, okay, this person has wronged me, or they stole my boyfriend, or they, whatever it may be. And now I'm going to get everybody.
Mean Girls.
It's Mean Girls. But men do it too. Men do it too. I think the stereotype is that it's like kind of a female thing, but men do it too. This person has wronged me in some way. I don't like them, and I'm going to get everybody to. And so you tell some tales about that person to make them other, to make them different, to put them outside of the group.
Why do you think the other people settle for this? For the nastiness of an individual's like slanderous things they say about
yeah. So I think
why
So yeah, in the sin of gossip,
why is it permissible?
Yeah. So there is we would say in the Catholic world we use the phrase there's sins of commission, which means that I did it, like I did it, and then we have
what
sins
I've done and what I have failed to do.
So sins of omission, and I think this is where in gossip, I think a lot of times we kind of let ourselves off the hook by saying, well, I wasn't the one who, I didn't say anything. I didn't gossip. But you stood by.
And watched it happen.
And you listened to it. Or you smiled. Or you egged it on. Or you took the knowledge that this person gave you via gossip and used it against the person. What? No, but I didn't gossip. I didn't gossip. But you kind of did, because you listened to it and you didn't speak up. A sin of omission. So as we're talking about this, right, be thinking in your own life, like how about those times when you didn't do anything, you didn't stand up. Somebody was being being, made fun of. Somebody was being gossiped about, and you just went right along with it. Yeah. And again, I've done that. I have done that.
Okay, next one. What is
derision?
Derision. Tell me what derision is.
So derision would be kind of the making fun of a person based on maybe a physical trait or some kind of personal quality that they have.
I think there's a priest group in the Diocese of Tulsa that does that to me.
That does it to you?
Oh, I think it's you guys.
You're in our priest group.
Whenever I show up with my laundry,
the way this oftentimes looks like we're joking, but it can be very hurtful.
Correct.
So a lot of times, somebody has a physical handicap. Somebody has maybe a certain way of speaking. Some mannerism that makes them a little quirky or different than you, and you bring that to light. We call that derision.
That's not when I bring my laundry basket to priest group and you guys are like, what are you doing with your laundry basket? Is that
well,
derision?
I just think usually we're like borrowing somebody else's house and you're doing our laundry.
I'm doing my laundry there. That's my it's my physical awkwardness.
So we want to be very careful. We want to be very careful.
Okay, next one. Is there another one?
And then the last one is cursing.
Ooh, like laying diabolical things upon them.
Yeah. So cursing, a spoken wish or command that another person be afflicted with some evil or harm.
Right.
So not necessarily like
profanity.
It's not swearing. Kind of wishing ill. We try to dishonor a person in the presence of others, and the goal is to kind of incite. So it's a little bit kind of like the tail whispering, but we're trying to incite others to kind of move against this person.
Whoa!
What do you think of all that?
I think those are great. When those are a lot of those come from the early desert monks. Like the early desert Christians really kind of emphasized working against gossip because it is the workshop of the enemy. Then our voice box and our mind and what we say and what we do then becomes really conduits for the enemy's behavior. And so the early monks, they said, okay, there's a lot of things we got to root out, which are our fallen self, these defects of our fallen self.
Yep.
What was it? When did Pope Francis go to Egypt? Because he gave a talk. Oh my gosh. I'll have to look it up. When Pope Francis went to Egypt, he gave a little spiel, one of his talks, about the desert monks. And he says, here in Egypt is where Anthony and Erasmus and all of these men and these women, Mary of Egypt, the abbesses, they all started.
I love Mary of Egypt.
Yeah, they all started this life of this monastic life here. And so one of the things that Pope Francis on his list of probably 7 or 8 things that says, these are modern defects that have their origin in original sin that have been throughout time. Ooh. And he's like, one of the things that we really need to work out right now is gossip, but with gossip, envy. And I never heard those two.
That's the deadly sin.
I never heard those two woven together because envy is, there's a couple definitions of it. One is I look and see what somebody else has and I don't want them to have it. Some other theologians and philosophers and monks would say, I'm willing to do harm to the other person so that they don't have it, but I don't want to have it.
Ooh.
Yes, I'm willing to do harm to them, and that's what gossip does. Gossip is the launching of arrows, of darts at another person to defame them, to say things about them both.
Turn others against them.
Yeah, to their face. But what does it do to us? It allows these 7 deadly sins, especially envy, to come alive.
Too. I think a lot of gossip comes out of pride.
Excuse me.
I think I'm better than this person.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you some scripture. So hopefully maybe this episode is making you a little uncomfortable.
Good.
Yeah, fantastic.
It makes me uncomfortable saying it. I'm like, golly.
Yeah, I know. And again, I'd say for the third time, perhaps these are all things that
the tongue is the rudder.
But then also, what I would encourage people to do. You have gossip or you have this habit. You need to take this to the sacrament of confession.
Clean it out. Clean it
Let's
out.
go.
Clean it out.
Let's go.
Clean it
So
out.
Matthew chapter 25. Whatsoever
Matthew.
you do to the least of my brothers and sisters, you do to me.
Oh.
So pray.
Lo me
pray,
asiste, right?
pray with that.
Mother Teresa.
Pray with that. That when you gossip, you are hurting the body of Christ.
Because it's woven together. It's a
Whatsoever you
living,
do
breathing.
to the least of my brothers and sisters. And how often do we don't gossip about people maybe we hold in high esteem.
Right.
We gossip about somebody who's maybe kind of on the outs.
You know, one of the other nasty things about gossip is it leaves us feeling exhausted.
It's not life-giving
when you
at
have
all.
a beautiful conversation with a
Sucks the life
friend,
out of
when you're chatting with somebody and you're just like opening up, either you're talking about life or beauty of something, or about an adventure you're doing in life, or the faith, or poetry, or you're having a great conversation over a meal, you always leave energized. Like, yes. I was talking to my former missionary, Rachel Caulfield, on the phone the other day.
I remember her.
You know, she came through Stillwater. She brought her boyfriend. I got to meet him. I was having this great conversation with her a couple days ago, and it was just energizing afterwards. And his zeal, it boosted my zeal.
Yeah.
Gossip doesn't do that.
It takes the life.
It siphons the air out of the room. It makes everything flavorless. It really sort of Eeyores our life that day. There's like this cloud sort of grayness just over everything. So we got to stop it.
So Matthew chapter 7,
Ooh, what?
Jesus says to do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Okay.
Right? So it's a little bit of what goes around comes around, you know. And then I think this is devastating, and this is one of those passages. Every time I read it, I just want to shut my Bible and go hide in a closet somewhere.
Okay, let me guess. Let me guess what it is. Whoa. It's Luke. Let me guess.
Luke.
The Gospel of Luke.
Yes.
Let me see if I can read your mind. Luke chapter 2?
No. Luke 2 is like the birth of Jesus.
I know. That's why I was going there. Everybody's saying good things about Jesus.
Luke 6.
Oh.
The measure with which you measure will be measured out to you.
Ouch.
The measure with which you measure will be measured out to you. And so you're a big gossip. I would challenge you, if you're listening to this, if somebody followed you around all day long, at the end of the day, would you get the label as a gossip? If somebody followed you around all day long.
An evil speaker.
Right.
That's what it means.
Yeah.
Doing the devil's work.
So if you're a big gossip, if gossip is a part of your life, I will say this: you're going to have a hard time making friends and keeping friends.
But
because
just
people know.
Yeah. Excellent friends.
If I gossip about you,
pointing at me.
If I gossip about you, these people are going to know that I gossip about you, and then they're going to think, well, does he gossip? Is he gossiping about me when I'm not here?
Right.
And so that your friendships become strained.
Yeah, and then they're just mediocre friendships. They're friendships of
trust.
There's friendships of like, I'm associated with this person in this way, but not I'm friends with this person because they're helping me grow in greatness.
Yeah.
Like, I'm friends with this person because they make me a holier man and woman. I'm friends with this person because we have this beautiful conversations and we share joy together. When we're around somebody who is a gossiper, man, take the joy out.
Yeah. So so gossip is a sin. It's a sin against the 8th commandment of thou shalt not bear false witness. But I've also seen it explained that gossip is also a sin against the 5th commandment.
Of killing.
Thou shalt not kill.
Kill somebody's reputation.
That when you gossip, I mean, it's taking the 5th commandment and expanding it a little bit. But when you gossip, you are to kill someone's reputation.
Joy.
Yeah. And then when we sin, it also kills us. I mean, especially if we sin mortally, if we sin gravely,
right.
It's a mortal sin. It disrupts and breaks our relationship with God. And what can repair that? And that is God's mercy, that the sacrament of reconciliation.
Yeah.
So it's serious business.
Okay.
It's serious business.
So what do we give people as a remedy to this? So there, there's
confession.
There's always the Psalms.
Yeah. It's a vice, and so I think for many of us, like many things, it's a habit. It's a bad habit that we have, and so I don't know. When you have a bad habit, Father Kerry, how do you break a bad habit?
Well, one way I break bad habits is by not hanging out with people that do such things.
Ooh.
So, I mean, you could start off there by just like, hey, I'm going to have a PG-13 lifestyle, and so I'm going to just cut those sort of people out. Hey, when people have a problem with like internet pornography, I tell them, I said, let's put a PG or PG-13 filter on your phone. So start them at age 7 with like very strict rules for internet. So a couple of things I do, like if I start to hear in my mind like something, like I don't like that person over there. I do something different. I learned this from the desert monks that Pope Francis was making reference to. They have this thing called the logis moi. My logis is word and moi is mine. And it's the word that shows up. We talked about this once, how this word shows up in our mind, like, you should slander that person. You should be mean to that person. And then what do? You turn around and you bombard them with prayer. Like you could say something like from the Psalms, let my tongue be silent, O Lord my God, if I should ever forget about you. Just to be able to turn the mind.
Yes.
And if you see somebody you want to gossip about, I always say, start by saying great things about them.
That's a great way to turn.
Yeah,
to turn the vice into something virtuous.
Yeah, let me tell you something really good about this person. And so now I got this.
Say something nice. Don't say it at all.
I know, that's what your mom says. Maddie, if you can't say something,
I don't know that my mom ever said that, but I know she probably thought
Brian,
because we were always.
Brian,
we were always ripping on each other. My mom does not talk like
Brian's
that.
graduation hat is 9 sizes bigger than everybody else's.
I'm sure you're imitating someone's mom.
Is that slander? Is that calumny?
Sure
Everybody knows it. Detraction.
You're imitating someone's mom, just not
yours.
Just not mine.
Because that's the way your mom sounds.
You're just kind of slandering my mother.
Oh.
This is direct derision.
Oh, this is derision. Let's just go full blown gossip right here.
You're making fun of some mannerism.
Yeah, I think there's an anti-serum to it. Just like when you get bit by a snake, there's an anti-serum to bring about your healing, to save you.
So go to confession, and then start talking well about people.
Right. Have a phrase from the scriptures.
Look for the best in others. My goodness. And then I think the other piece of it that's sort of feeding our in our last minute here, kind of feeding it, is that we're in an election year, and it's the nature of our politics. It shouldn't be, but it's the nature of our politics to tear down.
Oh, yes.
And then we think, well, I support this candidate or that candidate, and that's what they do, or we look to our leaders. Are supposed to be kind of setting the bar of charity and of the way that they speak, and then you look at our leaders, many of them, not all of them, but you look at many, and they're not speaking that way. They're speaking with a total lack of charity and disregard, and in some cases, spreading lies about other people which are not true. And so, can you have a political opponent and not deride them, not lie about them, not gossip about them. So we're seeing it at kind of the highest levels, and so our kids are picking that up, and our culture is it's seeping in, and that's why as people of faith we need to be pushing back and really living a virtuous life, free of gossip, where we're looking for the good in other people.
Be witnesses of divine love in this world, y'all.
That's right. So go to confession. Basically, the point of this. Stop gossiping, go to confession. All right, we're out of here. I hope you have a great day, great week. We thank you for listening.
Peace.
God bless.